April 2009, the American cargo ship Maersk Alabama is violently hijacked by Somali pirates.
That was always my milestone we never wanted to see, was to see him get aboard.
We've got a Somalian pointing an automatic weapon at us. I knew that we were in big trouble.
Right away, the 20-man crew of the Maersk Alabama decide to fight back.
We looked at each other, and it just went without saying that nobody's going to surrender.
Back home in the U.S., their families get the terrifying news and suffer an agonizing ordeal.
I couldn't even stand. I was overcome with fear.
Out at sea, the Maersk crew wage a desperate battle against 4 armed Somali pirates.
There were 3 or 4 times, to think about the family and say the last words, yeah.
This is the remarkable story of the unsung heroes that fought to save their ship and their captain.
This was not going to happen on an American ship.
Hear the harrowing details from the captain at the center of the Somali pirate attack.
At a certain point, I wasn't sure I was going to get out of that boat.
April 3rd, 2009. The American cargo ship Maersk Alabama is about to set sail from the African port of Djibouti for Mombasa, Kenya, over 1,000 miles away. Among its cargo, 5,000 tons of food aid destined for poverty-stricken African countries, including Somalia. Aboard the ship, a crew of 20 American sailors, many working together for the first time.
The Maersk Alabama crew was pretty much an average crew. We had some guys that were 60 and 70 years old, and we had some guys in their 20s. And so that's a regular crew for a merchant ship. It's just whoever takes a job, we all get thrown onto a ship together, and hopefully we make it work.
This is what we do. We come together quickly, we work together well. Everybody knows their position and their responsibilities. We fit together like bricks in a wall.
But ahead for the Maersk Alabama is no ordinary journey. For years, merchant vessels sailing the Indian Ocean have been the targets of pirates operating out of war-ravaged Somalia. Their strategy is simple: hijack the ships, take the crews hostage, and collect huge ransoms from their owners. The Maersk Alabama's captain, Richard Phillips, is all too aware of the dangers.
I've been sailing captain since '91, so 19 years. I was aware that pirates were on the route we were on. I've been in the area for almost 5 years, and as I told my crew, it was never a matter of if, it's always a matter of when. To me, I knew the area we were traveling in, and I knew the possibilities and the potential for the problems that lie there.
When I took the job, I looked at the area that the ship would be transiting, and I knew that those were pirate waters. I mean, the whole transit for the Maersk Alabama was around Somalia. I knew that it would be a risky job.
While the sailors know the risks, so too do their loved ones.
I've always been, not really expecting it, but knew in the back of my mind that there was always a possibility. Things do happen.
When John came home and said he was going to Somalia, I was very anxious. I was very, very concerned. I didn't want him to go.
My fiancée and stepdaughters were very apprehensive, and I was as well. However, this is what I do for a living, and basically we needed the money. We needed to pay our bills.
Ken Quinn, the ship's second mate, is also anxious. It's his first voyage since the arrival of a new member of the family.
I was nervous about getting on the Maersk Alabama because of all the recent pirate attacks, and I just had another baby boy. I already have Jason now, 3 years old, and I'm really attached to him. Yeah, mine.
As often happens, Ken and his wife Zoya Learn where he's going with only a few days' notice.
Ken got the job about 3 days before he had to leave. And this is what usually happens. He doesn't really know when he will be leaving.
Ooh.
1 day before, they told him that he was going to Africa.
The Maersk Alabama leaves Djibouti for Mombasa, a scheduled 7-day sail. The journey begins quietly. But as they reach Somali waters, the crew members become aware that pirates are all around them.
We knew they were out there. We could track them on the ship's radars. We saw various vessels circling and traveling in kind of an erratic fashion, as opposed to a defined course line that a merchant ship would follow. We knew they were out there.
As night falls on April 7th, Ken Quinn watches from the bridge as several pirate speedboats pursue the ship.
There was 3 small pirate boats chasing us, and they chased us for like another 45 minutes, and then he started calling us on the VHF, and he's saying, stop ship, Somali pirate, Somali pirate. The closest boat got within 0.8 of a mile, and then they turned around and went back.
It was almost like there was blood in the water and the sharks were starting to trail up on us.
We knew we were in a pirate situation. We knew what we were in for.
As day breaks, the crew awakens to the sound they'd all been dreading.
All crew, this is the captain. We're going to be boarded.
Once they get on, if they have the proper equipment and tools and assets and people, the jig is pretty much up.
In just a few moments, the pirate boat is within striking distance of the ship.
When I looked and I saw how fast they were going, I knew they had us. That was it.
Third mate Colin Wright desperately tries to fend off the attack.
I was getting ready to fire a flare at the boat.
It was a case of just trying to make it harder for them and let them know we still have things that we can do to oppose them, as meager as they are.
Before I could fire that flare, they fired at me real bullets.
To have people shoot at you, it's a very scary thing, and kind of surreal as you see the dents form in the windbreak of the bridge.
All crew, this is the captain. Prepare to be boarded. We have Somali pirates on our port side.
Outpaced and outgunned, the crew realize there's no escaping the inevitable.
This is not a drill, this is for real.
In a few seconds, the pirates are on board the Maersk Alabama. It's the moment that Captain Phillips has always dreaded.
The first lowest point for me was when they were on the ship. I knew that was not a good milestone to have.
On the bridge, Captain Phillips, able seaman Reza, and third mate Colin Wright are seconds away from their worst nightmare.
When the first pirate came aboard and on the bridge wing, and he held the AK-47 on us through the bridge wing door, that was the realization that it's really happened. The worst case scenario, here it is. We've got a Somalian pointing an automatic weapon at us.
Get down! Get down! Get down! Get down!
The crew's ordeal had only just begun. Below deck in the ship's control room, Chief Engineer Mike Perry hears a statement from the bridge.
Captain announced over the radio, the bridge has been compromised. There was a very clear signal. It was his way to tell us that they had him at gunpoint.
They didn't guard the communications too well, so I was able at each milestone to let them know bridges been taken, take the steering, done with the engine, we need to stop the engine.
Perry, a former Navy man, instantly understands that Captain Phillips is no longer in control of the ship.
Instantaneously, I reached over and threw a switch, took all control away from the bridge. So, Captain he's not my boss anymore. He's out of the picture, and I'm in control.
Mike Perry is now effectively captain of the ship. On the bridge, the pirates realize they've struck gold with the Maersk Alabama.
Good morning.
Yes, Captain.
Good morning. Ship what country?
USA ship.
American?
Yes,
American! American!
Okay.
Oh, American!
I had been following for years the various attacks and saw the increase, and I knew that it was really a matter of time before it was an American ship.
I've heard of the Somalian pirates before, but I never heard of them attacking American ships.
They were so happy that they had finally gotten an American vessel. I knew that we were in big trouble because it wasn't going to be just a quick robbery. It was going to be a long, drawn-out hostage situation.
The pirates' aim is to take the Maersk Alabama and its crew to Somalia, where they'll demand a multi-million-dollar ransom for their release. That's their plan. But this was no ordinary crew.
I think we understood clearly that we did not want to go quietly into the night with the Somali pirates.
I resolved myself that this might be my last day, that I might not leave this ship alive, and that I would die fighting. I would not go to Somalia alive. I would not put myself and my family through it.
The crew of the Maersk Alabama are about to fight back.
My background tells me that they cannot have control of this ship, and that's the only way to fight them.
With the captain and 2 others held hostage on the bridge, the remaining crew members know they must avoid capture. Mike Perry orders them below deck. They continue to secure the ship along the way.
Anything that can be locked, close it, and then move on down to the next level and proceed to check those doors and hatches to make sure that they're locked and secured.
They head for a safe room, known as the Hide, deep within the bowels of the ship.
Nobody hesitated. Nobody stalled. Nobody cracked. We were moving fast.
With the crew hidden, Perry's next step is to prevent the pirates from taking the ship to Somalia. Using alternate controls below deck, he shuts it down completely.
Now the entire ship is pitch black. There is no light inside that ship.
1 hour into the hijack, the Maersk Alabama is now static in the Indian Ocean. The pirates hold the captain and 2 crew members on the bridge. Below deck, the crew hides, knowing that even if they're safe for now, their situation is growing desperate.
It was hot down there because the chief engineer shut down the generators. We didn't have any electricity, so the temperature climbed up to around 120.
While the temperature's rising below deck, up on the bridge, the pirates are also feeling the heat. They have guns and 3 hostages, but no control of the ship. And without the crew, they can't sail back to Somalia to make their ransom demands.
The head pirate said, "Bring everybody here."
Captain, where's the crew? Where's the crew? Call the crew!
Now the captain picked up the intercom and started calling for the crew to come to the bridge.
All crew, report to the bridge. Report to the bridge. Immediately.
Now in our training we have a safe word. And if the safe word is not used, then it is not safe to come to the bridge. And the captain did not use the safe word.
We looked at each other, and it just went without saying that nobody's going to surrender.
The pirates see their hijack unraveling.
Their plans started to decay because now what they find is that even though the captain is cooperating with them by sequestering the crew to come to the bridge, they're not coming to the bridge. So number one, we did not give ourselves up. And not only did we not give ourselves up, but they couldn't find us.
With no sign of the crew, the tension on the bridge mounts. Their trigger fingers are getting itchy.
The pirates were really upset. They said, "We want the crew here in 2 minutes." He said, "If they're not here in 2 minutes, my friend wants to start shooting."
As the clock ticks down, Colin Wright sees an AK-47 pointed at his chest.
It did not look good for me. They were getting very aggressive. The time comes down to a minute. Nobody's come yet.
They threatened to do things within a certain time limit. And it is scary and nerve-wracking. Once people start getting hurt, that's not a good thing. I think it's a slippery slope, so I didn't want to stop there. So that was my main concern.
Then we're down to 30 seconds, and I know there's no way for anybody to get up from the engine room in 30 seconds. And it's about to hit the fan. And the head pirate pokes me in the chest and said, "You go get the crew and come back." I said, "Okay," and I took off. I left.
Wright never returns to the bridge with the crew. Instead, he hides on deck. The pirates decide to go look for the crew themselves. Their leader marches Captain Phillips to the engine room, where Mike Perry hides in the dark.
So, all of a sudden, the door opens. Flashlight beams are bouncing around through the engine room. And it's the captain with pirates. Can't tell how many. They're within 6-8 feet of me.
Perry avoids capture this time, but he knows the pirates will return, and he has to put a plan into motion.
But I have to do a little sanity check here. You know, is what I'm about to do sane? But I look down the other path in my mind, the concept of being captured. There was no way I was going to allow myself to be put in that position.
Perry's plan involves great risk, trying to alter the balance of power on the ship by capturing one of the pirates himself.
The whole concept was to make an attack from that point and kill or capture.
Moments later, the pirate appears. It's the leader, walking behind Able Seaman Reza.
I saw the reflection of his face come past the edge of the bulkhead, and I lunged up at him, put a knife right to his throat. I was pushing down on his neck, and I kept driving, and it was like going through tough leather. There's blood everywhere, and you can smell it. I can almost taste it.
Perry and Able Seaman Reza overpower the pirate and have their hostage. Now Perry wants the other pirates to know the tables are turning and calls up to the bridge from his radio.
I turned onto the captain's channel and announced that, one down. Wanted him to know, wanted the hostages to know that we were fighting back.
The crew have a hostage of their own, but how can they use him to free their captured captain? "300 miles off the coast of Somalia, Chief Engineer Mike Perry captures the leader of the Somali pirates who have attacked the Maersk Alabama cargo ship. Perry takes his captive deep below deck, where the crew is holed up in a hot, dark safe room.
We unlocked the door and he pushed this pirate in.
So when he comes, it's almost like they landed a big fish.
But as Perry shuts the door, he hears a violent skirmish inside.
As I was closing the door to the room I had him in, it dawned on me that these guys were going at him.
Looked like he was gonna pass out, you know, the pirate, so yeah, he lost a lot of blood.
We let him know in no uncertain terms that if he misbehaved, he would die. No doubt. We'd kill him.
With the crew pummeling the captive, Mike Perry acts quickly to save him.
I kicked the door open and I went in and I hollered and I said, "You can't do that. If you do that, you know, they will do something to the hostages they have. You can't do that."
The crew realize the captured pirate is an asset in their fight against the hijackers.
And that's when we just sort of like everybody, you know, calmed down. And we just sort of came back a little bit and searched the fellow and got him on his feet, got him so he was sitting down a little bit, and then everybody just sort of calmed down because we wanted to stay quiet. And we didn't know what the situation was outside of the hide, but it became apparent we had a hostage ourselves. So now we had a chip, something extra to play the game with.
It was a big morale booster. Our attitude changed significantly once we were able to capture and hold a prisoner. We knew that perhaps we could maintain the upper hand. We had one of them. They weren't expecting that whatsoever. We had something to work with.
But while having their own hostage, the crew's captain is still held at gunpoint on the ship's bridge.
I never thought the outcome would be good, but I just felt that there would be, at some time, a chance for something to happen. And it did. I felt you had to have patience.
Just yards away from this scene, Chief Mate Shane Murphy is hiding out in a communications room. Mike Perry had told him to send continuous distress calls to the outside world.
I said, "Shane, you get on the radio and you just start broadcasting." And he tells me, he says, there's nobody out here to hear my message. I can't see any ship to hear my message. Nobody's responding.
But unknown to Murphy, his messages have gotten through. And 7,000 miles away, the hijacking dominates the morning news shows.
Big story breaking right now. 20 Americans hijacked at sea by Somali pirates about 400 miles from the Somali capital of Mogadishu. It's the first vessel with an all-American crew to be hit.
Word spreads quickly to the families of the crew members.
I logged on, and the headline on Yahoo was that an American ship had been hijacked by Somali pirates. My heart was pounding. I opened up the link, and first sentence, Maersk, Alabama, and that's as far as I got. And I fell to the floor. I couldn't even stand. I was overcome with fear.
For Mike Perry's 18-year-old son, Travis, the news is too impossible to believe.
At the start of it, it did not feel real to me at all. This isn't supposed to happen to people, to everyday people like me. How many people's dads get hijacked by pirates?
Darlene Matthews can't help thinking her husband Dick is in grave danger.
I was really scared, and my first thought was they're either going to kill them or he's going to be gone a long, long time. I felt he might not come home. Really scary.
I was scared. I mean, you have to be on. It was nerve-wracking. And even though I kept up, I think, a very strong facade, I think, looking back, I'd say I probably was in my crisis emergency room mode, where you have a situation and you kick in the knowledge and the strength, and you follow your task.
The one word that kept going over and over in my brain was no, 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 no.
Back on the Maersk, Alabama, the crew's thoughts are also with their families back home.
I thought about my family and their future. They would stick together and they would pull through. That gave me some strength. And I was not going to let them down, no matter what.
Certain times during incidents that happen, I would think about my family and just, feel bad about that phone call, what their life would be without me.
Down in the hold, the hidden crew members struggled to cope with the intense heat.
It was unbearably hot. We were already on the equator. And without ventilation, I'd venture to say it was every bit of 130 degrees.
All of us were soaking wet from sweat, just soaking wet.
I had good reason to fear for several of the shipmates. But I'll say these fellows held up tough, everybody, to a man.
But as the hours wear on and the balance of power appears to shift to the crew, there's still danger.
When they got on board and they found out it was an American ship, they were excited. They told those guys on the bridge $3 million. And they lost that $3 million. They could not find the crew.
Not being able to find the crew, not being able to find their leader, there was some definite concern and different worries that the pirates had, even though they had the guns.
They weren't expecting organized resistance because they'd never had it before. All the other ships they'd taken were quick and easy. But they never boarded an American ship, an American Union ship. And we gave them a wake-up call, to say the least. We sunk their boat. We maintained control of the ship. We blacked out the plant. We managed them before they could manage us.
The crew's fight back is in full swing, but they are still without their captain, held at gunpoint by agitated and trigger-happy pirates.
I don't know where they went. They left.
12 hours after armed Somali pirates stormed their ship, and the men of the Maersk Alabama are continuing their fight back. From below deck, Chief Engineer Mike Perry contacts Chief Mate Shane Murphy, who has moved from the communications room to get a clear view of the pirates on the bridge.
I called out to Shane and I told him, these guys want to leave. We need to find an exit for them.
Everybody's thinking, you know, we got a couple of boats. Let's put them on a boat. Give them whatever they want. You know, get them out of here.
The pirates have lost control of their hijack and are becoming more agitated and volatile by the minute.
My concern was that they would get desperate. I was just trying to keep things settled, hoping for a chance for something to happen. Basically being patient and waiting, biding your time.
Later that afternoon, over his radio, Murphy offers them a deal.
They can take the lifeboat and take the ship's money, and they could leave. No harm, no anything. We just want it out, and you know, we would be happy to send them on their way.
Shane Murphy and Mike Perry now have an agonizing wait. Then, a call comes from the bridge.
Clear, we're going to do it right now. Right now.
It's Captain Phillips. The pirates accept the deal.
By the early afternoon, they really wanted to get off the boats, and that's when, you know, I suggested to them, I'll help you get off the ship.
The pirates agree to swap the crew's captain for the Somali pirate leader that the crew hold hostage below deck, and then leave in one of the ship's lifeboats.
The captain calls and says, when we're in the water and you guys are safe, then you guys can get the ship ready to go, and then we'll do an exchange for our pirate.
12 hours after the Alabama is captured, it looks like the drama is coming to a close. The pirates lead Captain Phillips at gunpoint across the ship's deck and onto one of the lifeboats, where the exchange will take place. Finally, the command is given for the crew to emerge from the boiling hot safe room.
I call for everybody to come out of the room. And holy moly, I'm looking at dead people. My 3 engineers and all these guys should have went to the hospital. They were in serious, serious shape.
With the captain and pirates waiting in the lifeboat, the crew now had to find the strength to to carry out the dangerous exchange.
One by one, as I called somebody's name, that person got up, and I'd tell them very slowly exactly what I needed them to do. And every one of them walked off and performed their duty. Not one person said, I can't do this.
I saw men in their late 60s, retirement age fellas, find the strength to move like they were 19 again.
The most heroic thing I've ever seen people do, ever.
Watching from the deck, Shane Murphy coordinates the exchange.
I asked the captain if he was ready. He said yes. The engineers were ready. We went to standby engines. The bridge was manned, so at any moment we could get underway.
Shane calls and said, okay, Chief, we're ready to do the exchange. I have the guys guarding the pirate, take him up.
I brought him up to the deck, and what I was looking to do was to guard him and then release him at the given time.
By now it's dark, and time for the crew to give up their Somali hostage.
I asked the captain if he was ready. He said yes. I put the man on the ladder, and he went down.
I watched him climb down the pilot ladder just fine. He got into the covered lifeboat, and that's when it hit me. They now had their man back, and they still held our man.
The crew had now fulfilled their part of the deal, but the captain was still inside the lifeboat with the pirates.
We're waiting to just see him come out. He never came out, and the boat slowly started to fall away from the ship.
We thought that was going to be the moment where we would exchange prisoners and both go our separate ways.
I showed the leader how to run the boat because he wanted to know how to run it, and then he took over. And then he just started steaming away and said, no, no exchange, no exchange.
I was speechless. He didn't come back.
Their deal gone bad, the crew now know they've lost their captain to armed pirates escaping into the night, heading for Somalia.
When they took the captain, I felt that this just was not going to happen. This was not going to happen on an American ship. No matter who they weren't going to get away with it. One way or another, we were going to get him back.
But the odds of getting Captain Phillips back are stacked against them.
There's still pirates all throughout this area, and we have nothing to defend ourselves against them, but we stayed there to save our crew. Our captain is our crew member. We weren't going to leave without him.
Determined to keep the pirates from reaching Somalia, where the captain's life would be in grave danger, the Maersk Alabama pursues the lifeboat throughout the night, with Shane Murphy at the helm.
Shane's up there maneuvering this absolutely huge ship, maneuvering it around, coming up within 50 feet. You know, you're talking about a mouse and an elephant.
It was scary. I mean, the pirates were scared because they put me back up there to steer away from it. But I know that chief mate was just getting close, so I really wasn't worried about that fact of getting, run over. But it did concern them.
Back in America, television news covers the unfolding drama as it happens, with crew members providing first-hand reports.
First, a dramatic eyewitness account from a member of the crew.
There was 4 Somali pirates with AK-47s. We took one of them hostage in the steering gear room with us, and then the other 3, the captain talked them into getting in the lifeboat.
I turned on the TV and I heard Ken's voice right away. He was talking to CNN, and explaining what happened.
Now they got our captain in the lifeboat, and they got him hostage. They want an American captain to hold for ransom. And we're trying to run him down and get him back right now. I gotta go. I'm piloting the ship.
From their ship half a world away, crew members contact their families back home.
I got a phone call that was shocking, and it was Dick calling me from out in the middle of the ocean there.
What I tried to do was to keep it short and just let her know things were okay.
Shortly after hearing that the crew had control of the ship, I received a phone call from John.
My first phone call, hello, it's me. I love you and I miss you. Give the girls a big hug. Tell them I'll be home soon.
And then he said, all hands are safe. All hands are safe. Nobody is injured. We have control of the ship. But there's 4 Somali pirates in the lifeboat. They have guns, and they're going to kill the captain.
Out at sea, the exhausted crew are battling to keep the lifeboat and their captain in reach.
It was a long night. We shadowed that lifeboat throughout the night. We did not let them get away from us.
As they chase the lifeboat, Mike Perry does everything he can to let Captain Phillips know he has not been forgotten, that his crew are still with him.
I would start yelling at him, yelling at the top of my voice and on the megaphone, on the radio, so the captain knew how close we were. He knew we weren't giving up. In my understanding of people in a hostage situation, it's vital for them to know that we're there. I wanted him to know that.
The Maersk Alabama follows the lifeboat for 6 hours. Then, before dawn, help appears on the horizon.
And I turned around and looked over the bow, and I could see the Bainbridge, not one light shining, everything dead, not even their running lights on. It was just a silhouette in the darkness creeping up on that lifeboat. I felt so relieved.
It was almost like a vision. There's something spiritual going on there. And I think what it did was it lifted all of our hearts and filled us with renewed confidence.
They came out with lights and spotlights and PA system or voice blaring, and the pirates didn't like the lights and told them to shut them off. But it was good to see them.
The American destroyer, the USS Bainbridge, right now, all day, it's been racing to get there. It is now on the scene. A Navy surveillance plane arrived earlier tonight. We're going to have the breaking news in a moment.
I knew that it was going to be okay when the news reported that the Bainbridge was on the scene. So I knew that John and the 19 crew members at that point were going to be okay.
Navy officers from the Bainbridge now board the Maersk Alabama.
They sent a detachment on board. It was quite relieving, to know that we had friends.
But while the crew is safe, Captain Phillips's fate hangs in the balance. Taking control of the situation, the Navy orders the crew to leave the scene and continue sailing to Mombasa.
We did not want to leave, but they said they had intelligence of pirates coming back to save their buddies, and they wanted us out of the area.
Almost one day after the hijack began, the Maersk Alabama resumes its journey to Kenya. But aboard the ship, no one is celebrating yet.
The semblance of normality was coming across the ship all of a sudden. But of course, in everyone's hearts and minds was, how's the captain doing? What's going on with the captain?
And out at sea, the captain is losing hope he'd ever be rescued.
What's the incidences that were going on? Yes, there were 3 or 4 times, to think about the family and say the last words, yeah.
With the U.S. Navy's arrival on the scene, the Maersk Alabama is ordered to continue onto Mombasa, Kenya. It's no longer defenseless, but still in dangerous waters.
We had 18 Navy personnel with firepower, but still the entire time we were very tense, just pins and needles, because we had reports of the pirates coming after the Maersk Alabama because they wanted to get it back.
Back home, the crew's families can do little but worry.
I felt that it was great they had the military on and were on their way, but I really thought there was a very big possibility of more pirates coming, to try to get on the ship.
We're also worried about the captain. We don't know what's going on with the captain. We know he's still in the lifeboat, and that hasn't been resolved yet.
I'm thinking to myself how tired Richard must be, and I felt like I couldn't help him. I felt helpless. How can I not be there for him?
400 miles out in the Indian Ocean, the Navy is engaged in an intense psychological battle with the pirates, holding Captain Phillips in the lifeboat.
To hope for the best. I was sort of losing my chance of escape at a certain point. I wasn't sure I was going to get out of the boat at all.
The pirates knew their plan had fallen apart, and they were now surrounded by the might of the U.S. Navy.
I had my moments where I was by myself and I could feel, this is scary. What if, he's in a small lifeboat with 4 people with guns? And kept saying, boy, I hope they got the right people working to negotiate his safety.
As FBI hostage negotiators worked around the clock, the Maersk Alabama finally reaches Mombasa. On board, the crew had little idea just how huge their story had become.
I thought we were just a brief moment on the evening news and a couple of lines in the newspaper. I wasn't aware that we generated worldwide attention. I didn't understand the magnitude of the situation.
We are bringing to bear a number of our assets, including naval and FBI.
In Washington, the crisis now reaches the desk of the Commander-in-Chief. President Obama is giving it his personal attention.
We have to ensure that those who commit acts of piracy are held accountable for their crimes.
Navy SEALs deploy to the scene, and 5 days into the standoff, with a green light from their president, they move to end the crisis.
Negotiations were not proving fruitful. They detected that the pirates were becoming anxious, they were tired, they were sleepy, they were scared, and it appeared that they were going to take dramatic action against Captain Phillips.
SEAL snipers position themselves on the fantail of the Bainbridge and wait for the moment to fire 3 simultaneous shots.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, shoot. And at that instant, the lives of those 3 young boys ended.
Coming in to CNN about the daring rescue of a hero captain. Here he is, a sight for sore eyes. Captain Richard Phillips, safe, sound, and smiling on board the USS Boxer.
How it happened was very strange, but it was just a complete relief, and then I was able to brush my teeth and take a shower and actually have a few beers and go to bed.
We were just also so relieved and so thankful, and we said all the prayers that we could say, and we're like, gosh, they were answered.
It was April 12th, Easter Sunday, and the news they'd all hoped for reaches the crew on the Alabama.
Very happy feeling to know that all 20 of us were now accounted for.
We were thrilled. Absolutely thrilled.
9 days after their hijack began, the crew arrives at Andrews Air Force Base in Maryland.
Wow, what a sensation. When we heard the wheels hit the ground, it was very relieving to know we were back in the United States.
For all of them, the crew and their loved ones, the ordeal was finally over.
I was standing right on the stairway, and he was the 3rd off the plane, and I yelled, "There he is," and then I was the first one to hug him.
Feel to be back. Talk to us. How does it feel to be back?
Thank you very much. God bless America.
On his own return, Captain Phillips receives a hero's welcome.
Truly moving. I was not ready for it, still not prepared for it. It was just a shock.
It was a relief, and it was just glad to have him home. And at one point, I almost felt like he had already been away for three months because we had gone through so much in the short couple of weeks that he was away.
But Captain Phillips is uncomfortable with being labeled a hero.
I've met heroes. I've met people in the military. I've met doctors. I've met nurses like my wife. I've met people who do heroic jobs every day, truly do, and don't get any thanks for it. And I truly believe that many people could have done what I did or have done it better.
And he knows the debt of gratitude he owes to the brave men of his crew.
My crew is truly... And I don't think there's anything better you can say about someone in an emergency situation than that they did their job and they made a difference.
Most of the crew are now back at sea, but their families will never forget how they fought back for their ship, their captain, and for each other.